Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Took me a second to connect to streaming. For some reason, the go live button wasn't showing. But then it came around. Okay, let's see. If you're here, do let me know. And feel free to leave a comment in the chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from. If you can hear, if you can see, if the connection's good. Um, let's see. As soon as I start seeing some signs of life, I'll start talking actual things of substance. Let's see. I see here that we have a new supporter who I'm guessing just joined who joined our membership, channel membership, Narayan. Thank you for joining. Yeah, let's see. It's taking people some time to tune in. I hope I'm in the right place. Whenever I don't see people, I get worried I started like the wrong live stream or something. Let's see now. September. What the Wix? September. Okay, it's only been 2 minutes, so let's be fair to people. Let people join in. Oh, I see it say it's scheduled for September 5th at 4. Did I get the scheduled time wrong? Maybe I got the scheduled time wrong. I see it says here scheduled for September 5th, 2024, 4:40 p.m. Well, no, it's now actually. Um, I see now that we do have 4 concurrent viewers. If you're one of those viewers, do let me know if you can see, if you can hear, so that I can. Maybe that's why people aren't showing up, because I got the scheduling wrong. Um, hello, hello, welcome to the people joining in. Oh man, I hope that's any signs of life. Is my audio working? Hello, 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 hello. Move my mic closer. Hello, hello, hello. That's fine. Move this down a bit. No, that's not what I wanted. What did I want? This one. There we go. There we go. Hi, Mike. Hi, Golden Cruise Restaurant. Thanks for joining in. Yeah, I'm seeing now that the scheduled time was wrong. I guess that's my bad. Hopefully people will still figure out and join in. And I'll get that right next time. So now that I know that there are people who are watching and there's who to talk to, so first of all, thank you for joining the live stream. As you join, let us know where you're joining in from. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the chat, live stream chat. And the way that this is going to work is, first of all, I'm just going to do some general, channel announcements and share some Wix news that was also in the newsletter and stuff like that. And then we're going to give chance to answer the questions in the chat, where we're going to give priority to channel members. And if there are no channel member questions, or we answered all the channel member questions, then we'll move on to just general questions from other subscribers. And the order will be based on, first come, first serve. So whoever asks the question first will address the question first. And if you ask multiple questions, we might skip, the other questions until we give everybody a chance to ask at least one question. So that's pretty much the gig for today. For people who it's their first time, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining in. And let's start off just with some general like channel stuff. I don't know how long you guys have been following the channel. This might be the first thing that you're doing on the channel. I doubt it, but maybe. Um, so first of all, I wanted to introduce, for those of you who don't know, about the Wix Wiz forum on the website. It's a great tool to ask questions so that also like the greater Wix Wiz community can address them if they can. I try to take a look at the forum about once a week. Sometimes it could be a little more, and go through the questions and answer what I can. It's a great way if you have like a question based on one of the tutorials and you want to share maybe something that you're working on and you got a little stuck. This is really the best place to do it, because you can share screenshots and your URL and whatnot, and it's a little hard to do that via a YouTube comment. I'm not discouraging you from leaving comments. I love comments on the videos. I read all the comments, and I answer the ones that I can. Usually the ones that are like slightly more general questions, or that I have all the details that I need in order to answer them. But yeah, so please leave comments and to also check out the forum if you want to do something a little more extensive. That's just a little bit about the WixWiz community if you're not familiar. And in terms of news, let me just pop in and see if there's any chat stuff. I'm only on my laptop today, so I have to kind of navigate between windows and see what's going on here. I don't see any questions yet, so if you have questions, please don't hesitate to leave them in the chat. And just here in terms of some Wix news and updates. So I've started releasing this blog post / newsletter that goes out once a month. This is the September edition. The way the newsletter works is that essentially there'll be like 5 highlights. There's always new stuff coming out with regard to Wix, much more than I managed to put in my newsletter. Some of it's more interesting and relevant than other things, so I try to gather like the 5 most interesting and relevant things, updates that came up over the past month. So these will be things that came out throughout August or beginning of September. And it's divided into 5 sections or 5 levels. So we touch on something that's no code, and then something that's low code, maybe a little more simple. And then we just get more and more advanced as we go to kind of address a bunch of different, topics and areas. So in the no code section, I talked a little bit about the testing of checkout. I actually released a tutorial about this a few weeks ago, and yeah, I'm not sure if this is me just being oblivious or this is actually something new. Um, because I remember visiting the Wix offices, again, this was a while ago, maybe a year ago or two, and mentioning that there's a problem that you can't test the Wix checkout essentially. So like you install Wix stores, and you add products to your cart and you go to try and check out, and then you get this notice, no, please purchase a premium plan. But there are many reasons that you might want to test the entire experience without purchasing a premium plan. And I recently discovered, again, I'm not sure exactly when it appeared, but I have a feeling it's quite recent, a way that you can essentially go all the way to the checkout and experience the entire checkout. So that's great if you're new to Wix and you just want to make sure everything's working, or if you're actually developing something that requires you to check out to make sure like that something happens when the order is placed or something along those lines. So that's something that I talked about recently on the channel. Let me just pop in again and see if we have anything here in the chat. Nope, still no questions in the chat, so I'm just going to keep on going with the plan. So low code, I discovered a few new APIs that I hadn't noticed before. Again, like I'm hesitant about saying that they're new because I don't know exactly when they appear. I just know when I find them. And since I'm in the documentation quite often, it's safe to say that if something seems new to me, then it's on the newer side, but I could always be wrong. Um, and so there's like a send set password email and change login email for Wix members. This is kind of like halfway there. So for change login email, that's super helpful. Like if a user wants to change, you could essentially allow a user build your own custom UI for a user to change their email. For the send set email password or send set password email, essentially you can trigger an email that will be sent to a user to renew their password, but you still can't use that to 100% create like a built-in UI where like the whole password change can just happen within your own custom UI. So that's still kind of missing a little bit. I hope that they do take that extra leap and allow something like that. Because like, that you don't have control over how this email looks, so it could be a little bit of a break from branding. But at least you can trigger that whenever you need to trigger it, so you can get almost all the way there. Code mode. I'm going to revisit this at the end because if there are no questions, then I'll actually dive in for a little bit of a demo of part of these APIs. So in terms of so code, Wix CLI. So here, this section is like more about if you're building applications in Wix, so if you've been experimenting maybe with Wix blocks or you're looking to release something on the app market. So Wix has several different solutions for how you can build applications for Wix websites. There's Wix blocks, which I mentioned. You can go completely custom. And another thing that you could do is use the Wix CLI. And this essentially allows you to, on the one hand, build something completely custom, but have it hosted on Wix and use a Wix built CLI to kickstart it and kind of get yourself off the ground. It's important to note that depending on what kind of app you want to build, different approaches might be your only option. So if you're, for example, building a site plugin, if I'm not mistaken, that's currently only available with Wix blocks. If you're doing an SPI, that might only be available fully custom. So you have to keep track and kind of know which approach to take. It's really a whole world of building apps for Wix, like beyond just the regular Wix development. And in WoCode, we have about Codex. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Codex. It's theoretically another product by Wix. It's a visual React editor. So React is a JavaScript framework, very popular. And Codex is essentially the Wix of React. You can think of it. So if what Wix is to, let's say, general website development, I guess you can say that Codex is to React to some extent. It allows you to make visual changes to your UI and through some kind of design. I've used it once exactly, and I've seen some demos, and that will actually make changes to your code base. It's cool, and I've just been kind of wondering. It's been around for over a year, I think maybe two, and I've always been wondering like, okay, where is this going to connect? Like, it's got to connect somewhere. It doesn't make sense that Wix is creating a product that's like completely parallel to Wix, the Wix editors, and it's like not going to loop in somehow. And finally, Wix has kind of, at least initially, revealed their thought process in terms of how possibly Wix headlists, also a rather new product of Wix, will link into uh, Codex. And they have some tutorials about that. So that's maybe a direction that they're taking. So I read a little bit about that here. But basically, so this again is this is the blog post, which is parallel to the newsletter, which you can go ahead and subscribe to here on the Wix Wiz website and just get that to your inbox once a month with just some highlights about new Wix updates and cool things to take a look at. So that is pretty much all of our news and updates for today. I see here that we don't really have many questions here in the comments. So I will hop in, and what I'll do is I'll do a little bit of a demo of one thing here that I mentioned inside of the newsletter, and that is regarding these custom line items. And I noticed also we got some questions about that on the forum as well. Let me see if I could pull up that question real quick. Yeah, so create cart with custom line items. We had a question from Cal in here as well. And there definitely seems to be some confusion going on around here regarding, I haven't even read this most recent comment yet by Callan, but there definitely seems to be some confusion about how this custom line items is supposed to work. So it would be fun, I think, to play around with it a bit together and see what we can do with it. And if there are any questions that come up along the way, then I'll be happy to address them. And yeah, so let's hop in. And I'm just going to get rid of some of the stuff here that we have already sitting around here in the site. And what we're going to do is, first of all, I'm going to make sure that I have Wix stores installed. So I do. To be honest, I'm not even sure that you need Wix stores installed for this to work. But I have it installed here already. And what I'm going to try and do is I'm just going to try and use custom line items to add something to my cart without it being included inside of the inside of any kind of catalog or anything like that. So here, let's see if I have, I don't think I have a custom, no, I have some stuff here, but none of them is a custom catalog. And we're just going to do something completely on the fly, which to my understanding is what custom line items is for. I've seen, yeah, there seems to be some lack of clarity there, but let's give it a try. So what I'll do is I'll add in a button, and this will be, you know, add to cart, let's say. And I'll go over here and just change that naming here. So add to cart. And what I'll do is I'll create a function. So let's create here async function, add to cart. And we're going to be using the this API. Whoops, this one right over here. So custom line items. So let me just open that up here in the Velo documentation. Let's see, custom line item. So this is part of the Wix ecom backend. Also, something that I've been told is that Wix ecom backend can actually work in the front end. So that's something that I heard as well from the Wix team. I haven't seen it written in the documentation yet, but if you take a look here at like the Wix ecom front end docs, and we take a look here, for example, I think it was this one. Yeah. So here you can see that they actually import Wix ecom front end and back end both in the same place. So essentially the front end. Um, yeah. Oh, here. Wix ecom backend dot current cart module is universal. So like some of them are universal. I don't know. I'm going to implement this in the backend just in case because I think that we do need to use Elevate, which is a way to make functions or certain APIs that need admin access accessible essentially to anyone. So essentially we're using here current cart and we're using the add to cart API. And we're going to be using these custom line items. Okay, right over there. Let me just double check and see if we have any questions popping in. Hello, Sebastian. Welcome. I see we have some new people joining in. Just for whoever's joining in now, we're just doing a demo of custom line items because we don't have any questions yet. But if anybody has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and I will be taking a look periodically to see if we have any questions there. Yeah, so let's go ahead and go back to our site. And since we're doing this in the back end, I'm going to add in a back end module here as well. I'll just call it cart. And what we'll do here is let's call this, let's say, add to cart. And we'll do permissions anyone. And what we'll do here, let's see, maybe here we can send in the line items. So let's say line, let's say custom line items. And then here, what we'll return is the cart probably. So we'll need to import here, import current cart from Wix ecom backend. And then what we'll do here is we'll say const updated cart equals 2. We're going to have await here, so we'll make this async. Await current cart dot. I don't know if you guys can hear, like, there's like, as soon as I started the live stream, suddenly they decided to do construction outside. Like, it's been quiet all week, and then just this hour, 500 trucks just decided to pass by. I don't know if you could hear it, but I definitely can. Current cart dot add to current cart. And here we're going to pass in the options, which should just be, if I'm not mistaken, custom line items. So I guess custom line items inside of, let's see, yeah, just inside of an object, and we should be good. So here I'll do custom line items, and okay, so here, again, since this is a rather new API, I think that they just have a little bit of a linting problem here. So like it's showing an error, but there isn't actually an error. But what it did remind me that we need to do is we also need to do the elevation. So let's not forget to do that. So what I'm going to do here, let me open up another set of the docs. And I'm going to look here for the elevate, just to make sure I elevate. Um, and okay, so yeah, we're going to be using this. So elevate from Wix auth. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating an elevated version of add to cart. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say const elevated add to cart, and I'll explain what this means in a second, equals to elevate current cart dot add to current cart. And I think that this is not a promise. Yeah, so this is not a promise here. And here, instead of using the regular current cart, we're going to use the elevated current cart. And then here we're just going to pass the updated cart. We're going to return, sorry, the updated cart. So what does elevate do? I'm just going to recap. Essentially what it does is it changes this add to cart to an admin action. So anybody who calls elevated add to cart through this add to cart method is essentially calling add to current cart as if they are a site admin. So what we know of different ways to, let's say, suppress auth on Wix query and stuff like that. That's one way that we can take admin actions from the backend. And this is how you would do it for other Wix APIs that are not necessarily queries and stuff like that. And I don't think it's something that will necessarily work for every single API. You might have to take a look at the documentation and see where it mentions that it needs to be elevated or not. But it's something that's worth being familiar with because it's very helpful especially in scenarios where you have no choice. So another truck from the construction just passed by. Yeah, so let me just check and see if we have any questions coming in here. Nope. Okay. I don't see any questions, and I still see there are 4 people watching. So I hope that's the case and I'm not just talking to myself. But yeah, let me know if you have questions about this, about what we're doing, if you're finding it interesting, if this is boring you. And I will just continue with this demo. So, okay, so we have this add to cart function here now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that and I'm going to import it here on our front end. So let's import add to cart from backend/cart.web. And since we have a little conflict here now, because these are both called add to cart, so I'm going to do this handle add to cart. And what we'll have here is I'll have our button, our add to cart button, dot on click, and we'll pass in the handle add to cart. And here inside of handle add to cart, we're going to have to define our custom line items, which is going to be an array. And we're going to have to pass that into our add to cart function. So we'll say const updated cart equals to await add to cart, and we're going to pass in the custom line items. And then what I'll do here is I'll add in a log, console.log updated cart and updated cart. And this is also a good chance to introduce one of the other APIs which I talk about here inside of the newsletter as well, and that is the refresh cart API. So this is a bunch of new Wix Ecom front-end APIs. So essentially now that we added something to the cart, we want to refresh the cart and make sure that it's visually clear that we just added something. So let me go ahead and import that as well to make sure here if I'm zoomed in or zoomed out. I always forgetting if I'm zoomed in or zoomed out. So let me go ahead there and import. And we're going to add refresh cart from Wix Ecom frontend. Awesome. So here, what I'll do is I will refresh cart. May or may not be a promise. I don't remember. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. What we just need to do now is actually add in our custom line items. Okay, so let's go here to current cart and let's see what we can add in terms of custom line items. So I'm trying to figure out here what is required, if anything. So let's see here. So it doesn't, I don't see anything that's like screaming required. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pass in a product name, a price, and a quantity. Okay, I think that's pretty basic. And let's see if that does anything for us. So here we're going to do product name. And let me make sure for a second. Okay, so product name is an object and we need it to have original, and this is required. So there's a requirement hiding as a child of one of the properties. So I'm gonna go through all of them now and make sure that there's nothing else that's required. So here we have original, and I'll just call this test product. Okay. And let me just see if I'm zoomed in or zoomed out. I'm zoomed out. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so that was required. Let me just quickly go through and see if there's anything else that's required. So catalog reference, I don't see anything here being required. Full price does not say required. Even price doesn't say required, which is really crazy. Physical properties, price description. Okay, this says required. Interesting. I mean, maybe it's required if including it, because I don't see why a price description would be something that's required. I'm not passing in price description. It makes no sense. Anyway, let's see. Root catalog ID. So what did I say I was doing? Price. Okay, price is a string. Okay, so let's add that in. Price, let's say 20. And the last thing we said was quantity, and I'll just pass in a quantity of 1. So again, this is kind of experimental. Yeah, let's see if this does anything for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and publish this. And I'm also going to open up our dashboard just so we can take a look at the backend logs as well as we test this. Um, let's see. Okay, so let's go here. Logging tools. Okay, so we have our logs open. We have our site published. And moment of truth. So 0, there's nothing in the cart at the moment. And let's try adding to cart. Okay. Unable to handle requests, so that means we need to take a look at our backend logs. Invalid argument. Okay, so price is not. Okay, let's see. Price is not a valid decimal value. Okay, so it needs to be, I guess, decimal. Price must be greater or equal to 0. And for the quantity, it says it got 0. Price description. Maybe price description really is required. I don't know why it must be so, why it would be required. It must be greater or equal to 0. Okay, let's see. So price, let me try making it decimal like that. For quantity, let me see here. It says number or decimal without symbols. So quantity, like I wonder if my line items actually got passed in even. Let's see, custom line items. Hmm. Let me try adding in the product description. Let me see if that changes the price description. So price description, original test. Let's try that. Price description, original test. And let me try publishing that. I want to make sure that I'm on the newest version of the site. And let's try this again. So I'm going to add to cart. Got an error again. Custom line items dot price is not a valid decimal value. Let's see. Does options also need to be an object? No. Yeah, you just pass in the options like that. Um, Custom line items. Hmm. No, defaults to price when not provided. Item type. It's weird because it's saying description must be less or equal to. Oh, that's where I misunderstood. It's not price description, it's the description of the error. Um, is not a valid decimal. Got zero. This is what I'm really curious about. How did it get zero? Let me see if oh, we have some questions actually in the we have some questions in the chat, so I will be addressing those shortly. From Siseko, thank you for your question. First, I want to try and see if we can take a stab at this and figure out what's going on here. Uh, Quantity description got zero. Let me add this. I don't think we need. Custom line items. Let me just add a log here. Console.log custom line items. And let me just see what's going on there. Clear my logs. Give this a refresh. Try and hit it again. Okay. So yeah, so product name, original test product. Oh, 1 second, 1 second. Okay, I think I see my mistake here. Let's see, let's see, let's see. I think I see it. Yeah, so I put Why aren't you guys telling me anything? You're the ones watching. You're supposed to keep an eye on me. Okay, so this is actually my bad. So I put price and quantity here inside of the product name by accident, where it needs to be outside the product name. Okay, so that is my bad. And I'm just gonna go ahead, clear this, and refresh. And let's see now if we get any luck here. So I'm gonna click add to cart. Okay, so cart not found. That's a new error. Cart not found, but if it should be add to cart, then that should be, that should create a cart, I should hope. So that's pretty surprising. Yeah, like this, typically, if we were just using the regular API, so add to current cart with just the regular line items, then this typically would create a cart if it didn't exist. Um, so what I'm going to try doing is, um, hmm, like I wonder if it would work if the cart did exist. That's interesting. So let me go ahead here, and in the menu, what I'll do is I'll add a pointer to let's point it to, oh, member page, booking page. Oh, do I not have, huh. So I saw that there was the cart here, which made me assume that I have Wix stores installed, but that might not be the case, which also answers our previous question, if this will work without Wix stores. So, okay, I lied. I thought I had Wix stores installed, which I do not. So I'm adding that in now. In the meantime, let me address the question that we got here. So there's a video that you made 2 months ago. Let's hack a Wix website. There is a part where you show a way to secure your website using the backend. Can you please, when you have time, do a video about securing the backend? Yeah, so that's actually a great request. I'm actually in the process of planning a second part to Let's Hack a Wix website, um, where we're going to talk a little bit more about, if the planning goes well, that we're going to talk a little bit about back-end APIs like web modules and stuff. So the first video, for those of you who didn't see it, in Let's Hack a Wix website, we talk about how to essentially hack the CMS and gain access to records that don't have the correct permissions. And I think, if I understand correctly, the request is to make a video which not only stresses the importance of setting the right permissions, but explains how to set the right permissions. That's a great suggestion. I'll take it into account. And maybe if we have time at the end today, I'll talk a little bit about that as well. I see another question coming in here from David. Let me just double check here and see what's going on with my Wix stores, which is still being added in. It's probably slowing down all my bandwidth as well because... okay, so David asked, hi, how can I make a Lottie animation button that starts with like sending and ends in sent? How can I make it to actually work with a custom form that just not end with send before it actually sends? Okay. So if I understand the question correctly, let's say I was just booking an Airbnb the other day. So what they have in Airbnb is that when you click, let's say, pay now, so it shows you an animation, and it's like, okay, loading, 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 and then when it's finished, it like kind of wraps up the animation with like a special ending scene. So like the loading part of the animation is different than the ending part of the animation, which is what, if I understand correctly, is David's question. And the first answer that I'm going to say is I would have to do a little more research into how to handle Lottie animations and essentially control, like, this is similar to another question which I've been asked about, let's say, triggering a Lottie animation on scroll or something like that. So really, how do you dive in and gain control over the playback of the Lottie animation and decide when it moves between different parts? Like, that might be the answer here, and I don't have it off the bat, but it's definitely something that I see there is a lot of interest in it, so I might want to do some more research into that. If you want like not a hack, let's say, but a workaround that I can think of right now is to have essentially just two Lottie animations, one with the original scene and one with the end scene, and then just hide the one with the original scene and show the one with the end scene. Like I'm trying to think to myself if it'll be seamless or if it will be like a slight lag or something. But that's probably how I would solve it off the bat with the knowledge that I have now. But it's not really a fundamental answer to your question. Like, I accept that, and I would want to. I think it'll be a tutorial one day. I think if I could figure out how the Lottie animation controlling works, it's a valuable question that can help people in multiple scenarios. So thank you for the question. We have another question. I'm just going to check in on my Wix stores because I feel like, why is it not installed? Maybe I shouldn't have navigated away. Oh, there we go. Wix stores is installed. Um, so I see that there is another question. I'm just going to try and wrap up what we were doing before, just to not lead to too much confusion for people. And then if we manage to make this work, then I will continue addressing questions in the chat. So here I'm going to add a page for the Wix stores. So let's do a category page. We might not even need this. Like if it works now that I've installed, because the problem, it said that the cart didn't exist. And it could be because we just didn't have Wix stores installed. So let's see. Now I have Wix stores installed. So let me get rid of this and head back to the site. Let's open up our console here. For those of you who have just joined in, let's see. Am I already getting an error without doing anything? For those of you who are just joining in, we're trying to implement this custom line items property in add to current cart. And it's something that I've talked a little bit about in the blog post / newsletter for September. And I've struggled with it a bit, and we're still trying to figure out, the dev community is still trying to figure out a bit exactly how to implement this. But yeah, so I'm just taking a stab at it now because we didn't really have any questions in the initial part of the call of this of the live stream. Okay, let's see. I still have an error here. Cart not found. And this time I definitely have Wix stores installed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and go to the category page. And I'm going to go and I'm going to add a product to cart. So now I definitely have a cart. So I can't say that I don't have a cart now. And I'm going to go back to our home page. And let's try now to add something to cart. So let's go ahead and add to cart. And still saying cart not found. Still saying cart not found. I feel like this might be related to the elevation, actually. Let me try and remove the elevation. This is gonna be my last stab at it. If this doesn't work, then I'm gonna wait for them to finish to finish developing this API. But let me just I'm gonna try and get rid of the elevation. Let's see. So here we're gonna do current cart dot add to cart dot add to current cart. Because what I'm thinking is that when it elevates it, maybe that like disconnects the front end data in a way that it doesn't know what the existing card is for this user or something along those lines. So let me go ahead and try again. No. Oh, see, now it's giving me forbidden. Okay, so when I elevate, it can't find the cart, and when I don't elevate, it's forbidden. Yeah. Anyway, let me see if there are any questions that we have here. So let me answer Matthias's question. Perhaps using a multi-state box. Oh, so Matthias is not a question. He's actually answering David. Perhaps using a multi-state box to manage the cases and elements be displayed would be a solution. Yeah, so that's similar. Another good approach, similar to what I said with like the hiding and showing. Yeah, it's a similar approach. Okay, so I see there are no other questions at the moment, so I can go back to playing around with. I mean, this like just this API is currently in the works. So like this API, I'm stabbing at it for fun. Like I'm fully aware that this might not work at all yet, and I'm kind of stabbing in the dark. Um, yeah, I'm not sure why it can't find the cart. Why can't it find the cart? Let me see here for 1 second. Cart, add to cart. Let me see if that one also has the same API. Options, custom line items. Because in this one, you pass in a cart ID. In this one, you pass in a cart ID. Whereas add to current cart, it should be for the current cart. So maybe if I got like the current cart ID and then I used that, it's a bit of a stretch. It's a bit of a stretch. Um, we can try it just for fun because we don't have any questions that we're trying to answer here. Um, Mastermind. Why does the hamburger menu on every Wix Studio theme look so basic? Um, uh, I think so. Just to answer Mastermind, um, I think you can change the hamburger menu for whatever you want. Let me go ahead. Let me go to the home page and zoom out a bit. Why isn't it scrolling to the right? It's not letting me get to the right. Let's scroll out a bit more. Okay. The hamburger menu, so that would be here. Um, let's see what we can do here in terms of the menu. Can we change the icon? I've never really played around with this before, so that's a good, yeah, so you can change the icon here. Yep, and then you can have whatever you want for the hamburger menu. Yeah, I guess that's just the default one that it comes with usually. So that's for Mastermind. And Matthias added another comment here. I think the problem is that it does not find a cart unless it's first created by Wix stores or create cart. So that's what I thought. But that's why I added this product to cart because I was hoping that that would essentially create the current cart and then it would be able to find the cart. But it still didn't work in that case, which is a bit odd. So what I'll do is let me try, because I see that you guys are with me and that like this is amusing not only to me. So what I'm going to try and do is let's leave in this elevated add to cart. But what we'll do is instead of using current cart, what we'll do is I'll use just plain cart. So cart dot add to cart. And then here, what we'll need to do is we'll pass in a cart ID and custom line items here. And then here we'll have also here. So we'll have cart, add to cart, ID will be the cart ID. Whoops. So here we'll have ID, cart ID, and custom line items. Does that make sense? Custom line items. Why is this like freaking out? Parameter of type string. Oh, so does maybe cart ID needs to be passed in like this? So no. Let me see for a second. Let me see. Oh, ID, string. Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's see. So this instead here, this needs to be cart ID like that. Okay, then we just have the regular problem here. And then on the front end, what I'll do is let's say import current cart from Wix ecom backend. And then here, what I'll do is I'll say const cart equals to await current cart dot get current cart. And then here we'll pass in cart dot ID and custom line items. And then here, let's do also cart ID. Okay, let's try this. This is really like, I think the final stab. I know I said this a few times, but this is, I think, really the final stab that I could take at this to make it work. I see there are some more questions also from Mastermind, which I will address in a moment. Let's see here as well. Yeah, so this will be published. This I'm going to refresh. Logging tools I'm going to clear. And let's see, moment of truth. Oh. Oh, item type must not be empty. Okay. Okay. It's a different error. I always like a different error. I don't mind errors as long as it's different than the previous one. So here we're going to have item type. And if I recall correctly, this was either custom or physical. Let's see. Item type. Oh, here, see, it actually shows that it's required. And description lines, it also says it's required. Interesting. So like this part of the API and the other part of the API have different requirements. And here the requirements, yeah, so here this is marked as required. Interestingly enough, quantity is not marked as required and price is also not marked as required. But description lines is and item types is. So let me add those in. So item type, whoops, I got distracted. Item type, let's do preset physical. So item type, probably. Uh, yeah, preset physical. Take off my jacket because I'm starting to warm up here. Preset physical, and let's just add in the description as well. So here we have, let's see, description lines. It needs to be an array. Description lines is an array of objects with, what does it need to have in it? Name. Okay, I really don't even know what this description line is. So name, and this will be original. And let's just do test. Okay, let's see. I'm curious now if like now that we added in these requirements, if we went back to current cart, if it would start working now. Like maybe it said the error was it couldn't find a cart, but the problem was actually other things. I don't know, or maybe the requirements are actually different, which I don't understand why that would be at all. Let me go ahead here. Let's see. Oh, it's not even giving me any error. Maybe I have to add in a try catch for it to actually give me an error. Let's see. Oh wait, invalid item. Description line 0, value must not be empty. Oh, plain. Maybe I need one of these color info. I have no idea what these description lines even are. Custom line item description lines. Okay, so maybe this is the problem, that it needs the plain text or color info, maybe? I have no idea what this is. Let's try adding in this plain text. And original, plain text test. Let's do description line test. Because I want to see what that actually is when if we manage to add it to cart. Um, Let me make sure I spelled description lines right. I think I probably copied it over, but let's just make sure. Yeah. Okay. Refresh. It's a new day. Yeah, dot value. I don't even see a dot value, but let's see. Add to cart. It added to cart. There we go. We have two line items in our cart. One is original product and the other is our test product. Let's take a look and see what it looks like in the cart. Okay, this is a description line, I guess. I don't understand why that would be required. I am baffled. um, yeah, so let me get to like the main takeaway and why like what we were doing here. Um, we went into this knowing that the custom line items is something that's still being worked on. Um, and uh, what I really wanted to convey is that what is the value of these custom line items and what it will allow in the future once it's polished and it's working. So essentially, until now, we had two ways of adding something to cart. Either it would have to be a product inside of our Wix store's catalog, or it would be a product inside of a custom catalog. Something that I've made a few one tutorial about that came out and one that's coming out in the next few weeks. And now we have a third way essentially of adding a product to cart on the fly in a very low key way. So like if you don't want to create like a whole catalog of products or rely on the Wix store products, you can essentially add a product to cart with like we struggled a lot implementing it because it's not 100% there, but like with a very minimal few lines of code, we can essentially add a product to cart and continue to checkout, and hopefully go through a complete order flow with this kind of on the fly product. What I'm hoping also is that maybe this will allow us not only to add products, but we'll also have a way to edit products. So like, let's say you do want to use a product from an original catalog, but then you want to just change a little bit. So this is kind of the future of where ecom is going. More flexibility and more possibility. So it's exciting. Um, I can imagine that this would be pretty frustrating for somebody who's trying to implement it just based on the documentation there is at the moment. But at least, we managed to make something happen, so that's exciting. Um, awesome. So I'm feeling a sense of accomplishment now, so I'm gonna head back into the chat, and I am going to answer some more questions if there are. So we had another question for Mastermind. I've noticed that in all themes, first you have the 3 lines, and when you click it, it doesn't animate to the one that pops up. Um, Are you saying that like if you change the icon like I showed you, it still doesn't work or something along those lines? Yeah, if you can clarify that, um, then yeah, then I would answer that. And is there a way to place a custom icon for the shopping cart? So that's a great question. So we do have APIs. Let me go here and show you. So Wix Ecom front end. You have here, let's say, open side cart. Okay. So essentially what you can do is you can put whatever icon you want and open the side cart just using the API. So like, let me even do a demo of it. Like, why not? We're already like totally in Wix store mode. So let's say I want to go ahead and add in some random shape. I don't know. Let's say this is my new cart and I can just add that in up there. And then let's call this cart button. And we'll want to do this on the master page because that's in the header and that appears on all pages. So what we could do is we could say import Wix ecom front end. And then just here we'll say cart button dot on click. We'll do Wix ecom front end dot open side cart. I think that should work. Let's see. I kind of chose like a little less verbose language here. But let's go ahead. Let's go back over here. Load the new site. Go back to the home page. And let's see. Taking it a very long time to load. Click on this. There we go. Sidecar. Okay, so you got your own custom thing here. I mean, I'm sure there's also a way. Yeah, so you have navigate to cart page if you want the icon to go straight to the cart page instead of opening the side cart. And in terms of the number, like here. Oh, I think I lagged there for a second. Um, So Guy's question, how can I verify on checkout? Yeah, sorry about the lagging stream. Sorry. How can I verify and check out the address details are correct without using external Google API for location verification? So my answer to this has several levels. One is how can you do verification within the checkout for anything? So for that, you're going to use something called the Wix Validations, Wix Validation SPI. And I think I have a tutorial about that. Yeah, over here. And yeah, essentially what you're going to do, yeah, inside the get validation violations function. So you have these options, and I think that it should include, let's see, source info, validation info, let's see, billing info, custom fields, shipping address. Okay. And so essentially here you have access to the data that they provided in terms of shipping address. And then inside of this function, you can run any kind of custom logic that you want. And if you want, also prevent the user from checking out if it doesn't meet your validation criteria. Um, that's the first, and that's the first part of the answer to your question. The second part of the answer to your question is that it depends on what validation of the address means to you. So I don't know what your criteria are for location verification. Um, you're going to need to have some kind of logic that will do it for you. So if it's a third party API that runs a certain verification, that's one solution. If you know what it is you want to verify, let's say you want to verify that the zip code has, 5 digits. So that's a pretty simple verification that you can write your own custom logic for in JavaScript, and you don't need an API for. So it really depends on what you're verifying and how you're verifying it, but whatever you're doing to verify, it's going to happen within that SPI service plugin that I just showed you. So that I hope that gives you at least a direction. Um, let's see 1 second. So I see I'm gonna jump. Yeah. So I'm gonna jump. I'm sorry, Mastermind, that I'm jumping over your questions and also Desmond, just because there are other questions that are kind of related to this conversation that we're having right now. Um, so Guy asked a follow-up question just to make sure it is the street and city is correct. So again, the word correct is I don't want to say vague, but it's not like the word correct is subjective. I don't know what a correct city and street is. Like, does that mean that that city exists in the world? Does that mean that it's a city that you deliver to? Does that mean so you have to define the criteria for um, like does it mean that it's spelled correctly? So once you define those criteria, you can craft a solution that will do the verification for you. Um, if it's something like making sure that like the street and city are spelled correctly, that they exist, that the street is within the city, and the zip code is matches all those three things, that is starting to sound like you're going to need some kind of API. I don't know if the Google API is the one you're looking for, but you're probably going to need an API. I'm going to go to Matthias's question because it's very related. Oh, the question that Matthias just erased for some reason. I'm not sure why, but I think it was a good question, so I'm going to address it anyways. Um, and that is once you're here. So this get validations violation file is essentially executed inside of the Wix backend. So what you could do is you could um, put the API integration directly here into the file, like use Wix fetch and whatnot. You could also have like a file here. Let me just demonstrate. Like, so to add the validations, we'd add it in here. So let's say, address validation. And here you're going to want to return like that, or validating cart, depending on which one you're doing. And here's where we write the logic. Okay, so here's going to be like logic to validate address. And in order to do that, what we could do is we can have a web module here, let's say address that API, let's say, I don't know, something like that. And then here we're going to have Wix fetch. So like import fetch from Wix fetch. And then here within the web method, what we're going to do is we're going to have, let's say, validate address. And here it will take the address. And then here it'll return, let's say, true or false if it's valid, or, true or false. And then here, this is all pseudocode, okay? It's just like to give you the idea of what's going to happen. And here we're going to do like fetch API to validate, etc. Okay? And then here inside of the address, we can just import validate address from Wix, not Wix, backend slash address api.web. And then here, from the options, extract address from options, and then call validate address, etc. Okay, so like this is all pseudocode, obviously, but just to give you an idea, I'm not going to do it from scratch here, but just to give you an idea step by step of what might be involved here in that process. And I hope that gives enough direction to go ahead with it. Okay, so I'm going to go try and address some other things here now. We are a little over time, but I'm happy that I think people joined late because which is my fault, because I realized that I scheduled the live stream for September 5th, so maybe people didn't even know that it was happening. Yeah. So let me just go here. Desmond, thanks for joining. You had a question. I'm not sure I understand the question. How to create vCard form dataset. I'm not sure I know what vCard is. I don't know what a vCard form is, and I don't know what a vCard form dataset would need to look like. So if you have any more details about that, feel free to leave them in the chat. We have eDev, and sir, I am new to Wix. I am looking to design an app for Wix. A Wix app to show all order on my app screen. And then I will make my logic there then. Would you please guide me how to do this? I can. So we talked a little bit in the beginning of this live stream about different ways that you can make applications for a Wix website. First, I would ask myself, do I need an app? Or do I need an app, or is this something I'm just doing for one single website? If you're just doing it for one single website, then you might be able to do this without an app. If you do want to do an app, you can either approach it via Wix blocks or build an app from scratch. It's quite a hefty topic, so I'm trying to give you guidance without going down any rabbit holes. Okay, so you want it for the Wix app market. So yes, that would be either Wix blocks or do it from scratch. Let me try and point you to where the documentation is. Let's see, I think somewhere along here. Yeah, so you're going to want to head over to this site. Let me send this here in the chat. And you're going to be reading a lot. um, so get ready for that. And let's see here. Specifically, so this seems a little more general. I'm looking specifically for the, let's see, one second. Developer docs, build apps, documentation. Here, let me send, this one's actually better. Don't read the first link I sent. Read the second one. Um, but basically, so you have many different options here for in terms of how to develop the app. Um, blocks, CLI, self-hosting. Since you want something in the dashboard, you want to make sure it's something that's compatible with having a dashboard component. And you're going to utilize the Wix Ecom and the Wix Stores APIs in order to gather the order information and display it in your application. I think that's about as much guidance I can give as, within the context of, yeah, in the context of this live stream. I hope that helps. Um, Matthias. So Desmond, I see that you sent a few. I'm not sure what a VC file. I'm sorry, it's just not terminology that I'm familiar with. Um, so I'm gonna need like a little more info as to what you're trying to do, Desmond, if I am gonna be able to help you. Um, yeah, like maybe just more context of what you're trying to do in general. What's your project? That might be helpful. Matthias had a few more. So sorry, new question. How do we send the data from front end to back end if options does not have the data we need? These are customized fees, validation, additional fees, thinking in the case that the user chooses a specific option in the checkout or shopping cart. Okay, so I think if I understand the question correctly, is that Matthias is asking if you are in the world of validations and you want to validate based on something that doesn't appear here inside of the validation options. So, um, in some cases, you won't be able to. So, especially if it's stuff that's related to the checkout page, you're slightly limited. Like for example, like I've had a lot of people ask, like I want to validate based on the payment method. So if they do cash, then I want to do one thing. If they do credit card, I want to do another thing. So that, to the best of my knowledge, is not possible. Um, that said, you can still validate based on things that aren't strictly in these options as long as you tie it into something that's related to these options. So just for example, so we have here, let's say, a purchase flow ID. So, I mean, this is actually related to an app that I recently developed for the hackathon, and I'll probably publish to the app market in about a month or so. But for those of you who might have seen as well, the delivery date tutorials where you have to pick a delivery date and then there's validations based on if the delivery date was selected or not. So delivery date isn't something that strictly appears inside of these options, but if you store that data alongside, let's say, a purchase flow ID, then you can validate to see if that data exists. So you can go and query a collection based on the purchase flow ID and see if something has happened. And if it has happened, then validate or don't validate, or add a fee or don't add a fee. So that's kind of a workaround, but it will only work for things that are not strictly um, settings that are related to the checkout page and maybe possibly a bit of the cart page. For those things, if they're not passed here into the options, then at the moment I don't think it's possible. But it's worth reaching out to Wix and telling them that you want it, and maybe it will be possible one day. So that was actually a really great question by Matthias. And um, oh, I just noticed that I was possibly showing you guys the wrong screen the whole time. Is that, or did it not? Why is it still showing you the Build Wix Apps page? Oh no, it switched. Maybe, sorry. I think my the streaming thing here is just lagging a lot behind. Okay, I got worried for a second. Sorry. Um, Let me see here. Okay, so I see a bunch of people helped clarify that VC fee is contact files. Thanks, Guy, and thanks, Reed. VC fee is a way to share contact information like a business card. Okay, I'm not so familiar with. I'm. It's vaguely coming back to me now, something like that. Um, I let me see just a second. Like, let's see, VC fee, VCF file format. Um, yeah. Okay, this is not. I don't know what this is. So what can I tell you that might help you? So Wix, basically, okay, you have to figure out what structure the data in these VCF files is stored in, and you're gonna have to create a bridge between JSON or something, some kind of format that JavaScript can handle, and this VCF format in order to save these VCF files. In terms of the Wix CMS and database, it's if you have like a CSV format, then you can upload to those databases directly. Um, yeah, I think I would just need a lot more insight into what you're trying to build, where the VCF file comes into play, and how that relates to your form and your databases to give more guidance. Yeah, like I have an app, let's say, that allows people to download um, your data collections in Wix as CSV files. So essentially, there's code that translates. I chose to use like an external server. You might be able even to do this on device, like, but to essentially translate between the format between a JSON format, which is the format that the database returns the data in, to a CSV format, which is a simple format to style, and then download that as a file. I don't know if this helps at all. Anyway, but I appreciate everybody's help with trying to clarify what VCF is. It's very helpful. Um, and yeah, let me see. Okay, I hope you can see. Yeah. Um, okay, so we have a few more questions here. I'm just telling everybody that we're going to be wrapping up soon. So if you have any last minute questions, try and sneak them in now, and I will try and address them if they're not too long. Um, let's see. Oh, so Matthias sent some messages probably addressing what I was talking about before. I'll read those in a moment. I just wanted to address Mastermind's question. Hypothetically speaking, Is it possible to remove the Wix watermark top bar without having any plan using CSS or JSS code only? No tutorials, please. Just a yes or a no. So, um, my answer to that, why do I see that you guys see like a, okay, came back. Um, it's not going to be yes or no because I haven't tried it, but I think that I do have an idea for how to do it. And I am purposely not creating a tutorial about it because I am afraid that if I do, then Wix will disable this certain feature in a way that's going to be very annoying. So, um, yeah, I have an idea for how to do it, but I haven't tried it, and I don't plan on advertising a way to do it. Because even if it's technically possible, I bet it violates some kind of some technical thing in their terms and services or whatever, not. Um, but I've always been thinking about it a lot, and um, yeah, I think that the I'll give a hint that it did not used to be possible, but now I think it is. Um, and I haven't tried it, but I have a direction for how I would approach it if I wanted to. Okay, so uh, I'm just gonna address Matthias's last comments, and then I think we're gonna wrap up. I mean, if the user shows something in the front end that is not part of the options object, comes back into those functions. Okay, you need to store the information in a database with the purchase line to use in the backend reference. Yes, so yeah, that's at least that's one approach. I don't know if that's the only approach, but that's what I've done in the past. Um, I hope that helps. Okay, so we've been on for an hour and a half. I'm going to wrap up for now. And yeah, what we did today, we talked a little bit about some community updates, some Wix news. We talked about the What the Wix. I mean, this is all part of What the Wix. It's like a combination blog post, newsletter, live stream that happens once a month. Um, and yeah, I hope you guys continue to watch the channel videos, suggest stuff, comment, write on the forum. It's always, I was a little worried in the beginning of the live stream because it was a little slow, so we kind of diverged to welcome Matthias to our to being a member on the channel. Thank you so much. And yeah, I really appreciate all of you kind of joining there towards the middle and end. It was fun to see it kind of come to life and answer the questions and stuff like that. I hope you found it interesting. And I will see you again next month for live stream and in the tutorials. Have a great rest of your day.